Hey everybody, Deplorable Bobby here. We're going to talk about a little thing out of Germany tonight. Trial is underway in Germany this week for Jennifer W. In Germany they don't allow the last name to be put out in public, so it's Jennifer W. tonight. She's a woman who bought a 5-year-old girl as a slave and let her die of thirst while tied up outside in direct sunlight in the summer in the Iraqi desert. Prosecutors say the girl was left outside to die, one of the most terrible deaths that a person can endure. Prosecutors allege that Jennifer and her husband bought the girl and her mother to be household slaves for the pair. When the girl fell ill, she wet her bed. Well, I guess wetting your bed is a sin beyond sins because she wet the bed, he took her outside and he tied her up in the direct sunlight in the Iraqi heat of the day for her to die. The accused woman allowed this to happen and did absolutely nothing to save this 5-year-old girl. Months after the child's death, Jennifer went to Germany. She went to the German embassy in Turkey. She needed some identity papers and she was immediately arrested and she was extradited back to Germany. And when the German officials got a hold of her, they released her. Imagine that, people. They released her. Jennifer W. wanted to go back to Iraq, but she had no way to get there. So authorities arranged for her to have a car and a driver to take her back to Iraq. The car was bugged and it was driven by a law enforcement undercover agent. On the ride back to Iraq, which took several hours, she spoke openly of the child's death and showed no remorse for the death of this 5-year-old child. If convicted, Jennifer W. faces life in prison, as she should, because she let this child die and did nothing to help her. While with ISIS in Iraq, her job was to make sure that women were upholding the ISIS dress codes and behavior rules. To intimidate the women, she carried an AK-47, a pistol, and she wore an explosive vest. Imagine that. Real nice lady. She sounds really nice to me. Let me explain a little something to you about what happened to this little girl. Dehydration. During dehydration, the body restricts blood flow to the organs such as the kidneys and the liver and the brain and the gut. And dehydration causes organ damage. It's very painful and it's a slow, agonizing death. You know, the diagnosis after death of someone dying of dehydration is usually liver failure or kidney failure due to dehydration. Because when you get so dehydrated, people, your blood cuts back, stops sending blood to your organs, and your organs simply die. Can you imagine being alive in 110-degree heat with the sun beating down on you? Your sweat's all gone. There is no sweat left. There's no more fluid in your body. And your organs, one by one, are shutting down. It's painful, people. Having an organ shut down is not something that just happens, you don't notice. My hope and prayer is for this child's killers to be brought to justice. Please, just for 1 minute, try to imagine that you were tied up in 110-degree heat for hours with no water. Imagine the agony. This is pure evil what they did to this girl. Imagine the effects and the pain of searing heat beating down on you with no hope of shade from this terrible sun that's killing you by the second. You pray for shade. You pray for a sip of water. But there is none for this little girl. At these temperature organ failures is a definite outcome. And from what I read and understand, is that the death of dehydration is one of the most agonizing deaths a person can endure. People, these demons that tied her up and put her in that hot sun, they knew what was going to happen to her. They've lived there all their life. They know all about the hot Iraqi sun. They know when to take cover and get shade, and they know when to drink. But they denied this little girl any shade and any water until her life finally ended in a terrible, agonizing death. As they stood by and watched, surely there is a place in hell for these people. You know, this child literally cooked to death in that hot Iraqi sun. And you know, these animals, they watched this girl cooked to death, and not one person in the village came to her aid. Not one person came to her aid. This is Sharia law, plain and simple. I've talked about Sharia law in the past and about the evil and the atrocities carried out by those who practice Sharia law. Let me tell you something, people. Sharia law is all about the men. Women who go along with this Sharia law are brainwashed. Sharia law is nothing but a man-dominated, psychopathic doctrine of a church. You know, this event happened in Iraq, but no Muslims in our country can expect us to have Sharia law. But they do. We actually have Sharia law in the United States in some cities. No-go zones for cops. No Christians allowed. Enter in and you'll never leave. I'm going to tell you something about these demon rats. They're pro-abortion and they're pro-Islam. Sharia law exists in America and in most major cities, and law enforcement are helpless to do anything to protect women and children from the tyrannical rule of Sharia law. I challenge any Muslim, meet me here, meet me on YouTube, my channel, your channel, a different channel, I don't care. I'll debate you anytime, anywhere, any day on Sharia law, Mr. Muslim. You know, Muhammad is the leader of the Muslims, and I'm going to tell you straight up right now, bald-faced truth. Muhammad was a pedophile who married a 10-year-old girl. And even if he waited, actually she was 6, now that I remember. Because at 10 years old in the Middle East, most girls start menstruating. And it's against Sharia law to have sex with a girl who hasn't menstruated. But in the heat of the desert, girls mature a lot sooner and they menstruate earlier. So as young as 10 years old, Muhammad, leader of the Muslim faith, you are a pedophile. Plain and simple. I, for one, I will not be silent. I will not be hushed. I will tell you now That's the Muslim faith is a sham and a lie. Most all Muslim men await the day of death with much hope and warning, because the Muslim men are trusting in the promise from Muhammad that they're going to have 17 celestial virgins at their disposal. And what better for a Muslim pervert to look for death so he can molest young virgins. I guarantee you, people, he's doing it in real life. They're not waiting for death to do this. Just imagine, Muslim men are promised 17 celestial virgins. But I want to know something. 17 virgins in order to find a virgin in 2019 is very difficult in this new world. But these men are counting on having young virgins, I would venture to say their children, in the afterlife, at their disposal for their fun. So if you're a Muslim man, I am calling you out. I'm calling all Muslim men out. You're nothing more than pedophiles, and I challenge you to meet me anywhere, anytime for a debate on your beliefs and the Judeo-Christian belief. I personally despise Muslims, and I have no intention of changing my mind. Muslims are evil, and they're of Satan, and it's all about the pedophilia for the men of Islam. If you're a Muslim, please contact me. We too can have a live debate on YouTube and see if you can defend pedophilia and the other atrocities of the Muslim faith. Muslims spread hate of all kinds to the world. I am, and I will never see Islam as anything but a religion of pedophiles. People, I'm sick of these men harming our little girls. They killed this child straight up and straight out. Ain't nothing else to say about it. They killed her. And I want you to think of her as she sat there in that hot Iraqi sun, tied up, denied water, as organs one by one failed. The pain was unbelievable. I guarantee you, people, it was unbelievable. I pray for this little girl. I wished I'd have known her. I wished I could have taken her out of that place and gave her a happy, loving home. I gladly would have done that. But people, that's not up to me, and it's not up to you. It's up to these Muslim men who make the decisions in Islam. Life or death to a child is nothing to them. So people, stand with me. Let's fight these atrocities that these Muslim men are doing to these little girls all the time. And not only to girls, but to women and to little boys. You know, they say in the Muslim faith that homosexuality is cause for death. But what is it called when these Muslim clerics and these Muslim men rape these little boys? It's not homosexuality then? Well, what is it, people, if it's not homosexuality to have sex with a child that happens to be a male? If you're so pro-Islam, then you need to take the knife to your own throat and cut your own head off, because you are an infidel, because you have sex with little boys. It's a known fact. But they don't call it homosexuality. It's some kind of man love. But let me tell you, people, they're two-faced, they're liars, they're not worth even having a breath. Say what you will about me, people, but I don't waver. I have no use for the Muslim faith. I pass and repass because I have to. When I'm in public, there'll never be a Muslim come to my door, and I'll never break bread with one. Anybody who doesn't stand on the word of Jesus Christ, from the life and the death and the resurrection, I have no use for you. People, this is deplorable Bible. This is the way I see it. And that little girl should never have died. Think about it, people. Think about her death. Let me know in the comments what you think. I think it's terrible. Absolutely terrible. Deplorable Bobby, this is the way I see it. Pray for our kids and pray for each other. Together we're strong. Divided we're weak. Together we'll make a difference one day. Hang with me, people. I'll talk to you later.